Can you see it again? Let me see. Someone is pinging me. Can you guys see me again? Can you see me? Okay. Okay. So as I was saying, MCP is supported in Genkit. So that means that yeah, you can connect Genkit to different MCP servers. What MCP is called Model Context Protocol. It was created by Anthropic, and now it's part of the Agent Foundation from the Linux Foundation. You can expose different MCP like tools in an MCP server. Like for instance, let's say that you have a bunch of APIs, a bunch of features, and you can wrap those APIs into different tools in an MCP server. You can use, for instance, like Docker Desktop to pull a bunch of MPC servers, or running those with MPX as well, and you can connect that to Genkit. It's right now it's not part of the core of the framework. The MCP support is just a plugin, but it works really well. And all the things that I'm explaining, like what you're seeing is like Genkit JavaScript, Genkit JavaScript, sorry, but everything is available for Genkit Go and Python. Like all the concepts and everything is just available for the other languages, but in their own way, like a more specific language way, but it is available there. So Jenkit versus other frameworks. One thing that like that you will probably are asking to yourself is like, okay, why should I use Jenkit? The first thing that I would say is Genkit is really cool because it is really simple, and the learning curve is really low. And what that means is that you can ramp up an engineer, or you can start building something in less than 5 minutes, and you can have, like, for instance, like an endpoint working and calling an LLM, and in just less than 5 minutes. Yeah, you have seen the generate method, define tool, define prompt is really easy. One thing that or the main difference between, for instance, like LangChain or Llama Index, is the LangChain and Llama Index were designed from ML engineers or from AI engineers, and it is a little bit, I don't know, like more convoluted. There's a lot of abstractions. The frameworks itself, they are like definitely not lightweight. They are pretty heavy, and whenever you want to upgrade the framework, like everything breaks. So, and the learning curve is really high. In this case, for example, for Genkit, like it's lightweight, simple to use, and really easy to use. And also the developer experience, like the UI that I saw you, and everything works pretty smooth. I would say that Genkit is more similar to the Vercel AI SDK, because the Vercel AI SDK has been built by application engineers, same as Genkit, instead of built by ML or AI engineers. So it's also like really easy to use. The main differentiator for the Vercel AI SDK is the how's it called, the UI components that they have, which is they are very good, and a lot of people are using it, and you can build your own AI apps using the Vercel AI UI components that Jenkit does not have. Jenkit is fully backend. Monitoring these are also really tough. Jenkit has observability in place, so that works really well, and also the debugging is really easy with Jenkit. Whenever you want to trigger a prompt, you can just run it either with the Jenkit CLI or with Jenkit UI. So that's pretty cool. And Yeah, like for instance, if you want to be like really really complex agents, I would suggest like 100% to use Llama Index, or to use Google ADK, or LangChain, JavaScript or TypeScript, because I think Genkit is not like for that complex use cases. But if you are just building or using like the models to like to process, I don't know, for instance, like invoices, like from PDFs or images to JSON outputs, Genkit works out of the box, and it's the best choice in my opinion. So I don't know if you guys have used Firebase Studio. Firebase Studio is the vibe coding tool. It's a Visual Studio Code that you can use in the cloud, just in your browser. Firebase Studio under the hood uses Genkit, and whenever you are generating code using Firebase Studio, and Firebase Studio detects that you are gonna be using, for instance, Gemini or generative AI, the code I will generate is gonna be using Genkit. It will install Genkit, the dependency, and it will write Genkit code. So this is an example that how the framework is not only used for like for external purposes, but Google is also using it in their platforms, which is really really cool. So with that said, let me let's jump straight to the code that I have. Let me show you first the Golang example. For those that are not very familiar with Golang, no worries, it's very very easy. The first thing that for Jenkit Go, for example, that you need to do is initialize the framework. For that is just Jenkit.init. The dependency is github.com/firebase/jenkit/go/Jenkit. That is where this is the main core. So in this case, we are gonna be initializing it with one plugin, which is the Vertex AI plugin, because we are gonna be using the model Gemini 2.5 Flash. Okay. The next thing is we are gonna be defining a flow. The flow is like literally a function that can be reused. So you can invoke the flow from whatever you want in your source code. And then within that flow, we are gonna be calling the generate method. As you can see here, is like the same concepts, very similar to Jenkit JavaScript, but in this case in Golang. And the prompt that we're gonna be using. In this case, we are gonna be like suggesting an item, sorry, a menu based on the theme that we are gonna pass into to this prompt. And we call the generate, and we show the text. And finally, we expose that this flow as an endpoint with a Jenkit handler. Okay. You can just run this as a server, like running go run, and that's it. Here you have a server running, but you can also run it Jenkit. Let me show Jenkit start go run with the CLI, and what it is gonna be doing is gonna run the Jenkit developer UI in localhost port 4000. So if we go here, you will see, if I refresh, you will see the flows that we have defined. And for instance, let's say that we want to create a Mexican menu. It will run the flow directly from the UI, which is pretty useful. Here you have the output, and you have also the JSON output if you want to check. In this case, the output is just a string, but if you are getting a complex JSON structure, you can turn on the JSON mode. Plus, also when you click on the view trace, you can get the entire trace. Like you can see the how long it took, token in, tokens out, um, and like here the entire trace, like the entire span, in terms of like you call the flow, that calls the generate method, that calls the model, and you have all the information that you need here, which is pretty cool and also very convenient. So this is Ingo. Let me show you the example in Node. For Node, I have something is npm run Genkit start. So what it does is gonna be doing this exactly the same, but instead of running the Golang code, it is gonna be running the Node.js code, and I will show you the Node.js code. Another thing that is important, so we have a flow and we have a tool. I'm gonna explain you this in a bit, but in terms of model, here we are using the GitHub plugin. That was a plugin that I built, and you can find all the models that are available in that plugin. For instance, like GPT-5, GPT-4, and let's say that we use, I don't know, like GPT-4o. You can interact here as a playground. Instead of going to the GitHub model site and run the playground there with the system prompt and whatever, you have everything here in just one place. Also, you can check the traces here, okay, which is pretty nice. So let's go to the code. For the code, it's very easy. Let's go first to the define flow. Here we have define a flow, and that flow has a name. Remember that flow is a reusable function. It has a name, it has an input schema. So I know that it has an object that has a property called location, and it is a string. And I have an output schema, which is a string. So for instance, that is what I was trying to explain, that in terms of developer experience, when I click on here, location show up, because it knows, thanks to the usage of SOT here, that input has a property called location, which is a string, which is pretty cool. And it will return the text. The flow server will expose the flow as an endpoint as well, similar to Genkit. The start flow server comes from the Genkit Express npm plugin. Okay, so, and one thing that you can notice here is that the tools have we have defined one tool called get weather. So what this get weather tool does is basically it gets the current weather in a given location using the open weather API. So we go here to the open weather API. We have an input schema on the system, and we return the current weather. Okay. In terms of the input schema, the weather tool input schema, it has a location as well that is type of a string, and it has a describe. The description and the describe for the input schema and the description of the tool is really important, because this is the way that we are instructing the LLM to let it know when it needs to use the tools. Okay. And the very first thing that we have to do is, of course, like initialize the Genkit plugin, the Genkit framework with the plugins that we're going to be using. In this case, we're going to be using the GitHub model plugin and a global model. You can have a global model. In this case, we're using GPT-4o, but you can also, in the generate method, you can override that model to one more specific that you want to use. So if we go to the UI, we'll see that we have the flow that we have created on Node.js, and thanks to the input schema, it automatically puts here the JSON that it requires. In this case, it's a location, and we can, for instance, like say Madrid, and it will call the tool. So here we'll see the information, and if we see the trace, we can see the entire trace. That means that we call the flow, it calls the generate method, it calls the LLM. The LLM detected that we need to call the tool with these parameters. We call the tool, and we call the generate with the information that was provided by the tool plus the final prompt, which is pretty cool. Okay, this is really valuable. If you want to just use the tool, you can just come here and again like search for the tool. Okay, exactly the same. So here you are just like triggering the tool, not the entire flow. So if you want to just like debug the tool, you can do that from the UI, which is pretty convenient. So that was the examples that I wanted to show you today. There are a couple of resources that I want to show you today as well, which is official Genkit framework website, which is genkit.dev, where you can find all the documentation that you need. In this case, like for instance, you can find information for Node.js, Go, and Python, and how to set up or how to get started with the different plugins. So it is again, it is really easy to use. You have seen my code, and even like a complex flow has like less than 50 lines of code, and it is really easy to read. Uh, Very easy to maintain as well, and you have the this local host UI and also the Jenkins CLI, because you can trigger tools, you can trigger flows from the Jenkins CLI, which is very convenient as well. You have the entire documentation here, and also I'm writing some books for Jenkit. So you have they are called mastering Jenkit. You have mastering Jenkit for Go, for Python, and TypeScript. Right now, the only one that is finished and published is mastering Jenkit Go edition. This book is fully open source, so if you go to the releases, you can download the book in the format that you want, and you can also go deeper by just checking the book online. Okay, where you can see everything and you can copy all the examples. You can see a bunch of um, like diagrams as well. Let me show you. There are a bunch of diagrams. For instance, in the tool calling, there's a diagram to understand not only Jenkit itself, but also all the concepts that you need to understand when you're developing AI, generative AI applications. Fully open source. Okay, and all for you. All the examples in every single chapter are under source examples. Here's where you will find all the Go examples that we are gonna be using in the book. So that's pretty cool, and that's pretty much it in terms of the presentation that I wanted to show you. Here are this is the Go edition, Python edition, and the TypeScript edition. These ones are the ones that we are gonna be writing next year. So stay tuned. Something that I didn't mention, but Jenkit supports for indexers and embedders in terms of like if you want to build RAG applications or complex flows to like extract information and storing in vector databases. Jenkit also supports that. And as I said, it's open source, open ecosystem. Through the plugins, there are a bunch of plugins, and it's available in TypeScript, Go, and Python. So thank you so much. Yeah, you can join the Discord here and also like check the repo, github.com/firebase/Jenkit, and make sure that like you go there, you try the framework, and if you see any issue, any bug, report it either on GitHub or on Discord, and yeah, I hope you like it. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I am more than happy to answer those questions. You can drop those in the chat, and I will read them and try to answer them. Gonna give you a couple of minutes. Okay, no questions so far. Perfect. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. I hope you like the framework. Please try it out and let me know how that goes. And if you have any doubt, whatever, you can ping me on LinkedIn or on Twitter at Xavidop, and on LinkedIn is Xavier Portilla Edo. And yep, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. See you everyone. Bye bye.